right, Davis Wolves fan. Ground and Pound Wishbone show. It's a little bit different than probably what you guys are used to. First time you're actually looking at us and not the football field. I don't know about you guys, making me a little uncomfortable.
Very much. I don't know how much they're going to like that, but we're going to give it a go.
So anyway, we wanted to give you guys a season preview or what we think the season's going to look like, kind of some of the players to expect, some things to look forward to. But the first thing is we've got to address is there's kind of an elephant in the room, and I'm not saying you're the elephant, Chad, but you're not Jared Morris. So Jared Morris, Macho Man himself, has went on to Wynnewood Schools. We're going to miss Jared this year, but so our broadcast team is going to be a little bit different. Joining Bobby and me this year is going to be Chad Fielding. So hope you guys enjoy Chad this year. We were talking about it earlier, Bobby. I think this is your 7th year broadcasting. My 9th year. Chad, you're first. So
I'm the baby of the group.
You're we're hoping to do some fun stuff this year.
For sure. I think it's going to be a good year. Definitely want to say, wish all the best for Mr. Morris and his future endeavors. As he got a promotion, gets to be a middle school assistant principal basically up there at Wynnewood. So good luck to him. But now it's back to the Wolf football.
All right, man.
And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to it. I will pick up Mr. Moore's torch, and I will beat on the press box. If we get a break down the middle for a long run, I will.
Got some big shoes to fill in that nature. He does. Mr. Morris was very animated in the press box, and so yeah.
And I don't know if you should thank us till after the season. Before the season may not be a good choice. But hopefully we have a great season this year. We're looking for some good things to happen. I think there's a lot of excitement around the Wolves football team this year. And again, let's get down into the nitty gritty. What we expect. You guys, let's talk about offense.
Okay.
So again, I'll tell you kind of what I think you're going to see. You guys can touch on this. Tell me what you think about this. So, looking at some of the different positions out there this year. So, first position we got to talk about is quarterback. Obviously, we got a new man back there. You're going to see a lot of Luke Linville. He's probably going to be the first one that rolls out there, but he's not the only one. I can also see some snaps going to Seth Knapp. I can see some snaps going to Gage Kopenberger. There's several kids that I see getting some snaps there. What do you guys think about quarterback?
So here's where I'm going to start right here is I think it's going to be a different style than what we're used to. I'm going to miss Jake Parker. I'm not down in what we have now, but Jake was one of those. I'll lower my shoulder and I'm going to go through you. Luke is a little bit more elusive than I think, and so that's where I think styles may change a little bit, maybe a little faster, something that we're not used to seeing here at Davis, not at least since Blake Summers. But I'm excited for it. He does have the ability to put the ball in the air. I think we've got some, a lot more options than I think we've seen in the last few years. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm excited about, throwing the ball. Yeah. I think the opportunity is going to exist for us to air it out a little bit. And it's going to be Davis ground and pound. We know that. But maybe 5, 10, maybe even 15 passes a game.
Hey,
that would be stretching it. I know.
He really is filling in Mr. Morse's shoes quite well.
He is. Look at that. You're well on your way then.
All right.
So I will say, Luke, he's got some arm talent. He can throw the ball. He's a bigger kid. He can take kind of a pounding. So I could see us putting him out on the edge a little bit more. That quarterback run game has always been kind of a staple of what Davis likes to do, and I don't think we will go away from that. I think we'll still feature that some. So let's move on. So this group, in my opinion, is kind of interchangeable, and it's kind of the halfback, fullback role.
Right. Okay.
We've got a lot of kids that are going to be playing either or depending on the formation. So, some of the kids I really think you're going to see out there, are going to be the Brendan Rawls, Tyson Moss, Ty Barnett, Seth Knapp, Ethan May, Rance Digby. There's a whole bunch of bodies there. Mitchell Garrison. There's a lot of different kids that you're going to see in at either fullback or halfback depending on the formation. Tell me what you guys are looking forward to out of that group.
I'll let you jump on this one first.
Hey, it's always nice to have a full stable of running backs because they do take a pounding, especially with the way Davis plays. So to have some kids with some fresh legs come in, be able to take some snaps and not really drop off in the talent, I think that's going to be key. And this group of kids will provide that, I believe.
Yeah. Now we're going to still have a Rawls in the backfield, but we are going to miss Lane Rawls.
Yeah.
Sure.
There were times that, Lane you put that ball in his hands, he's going to put the team on his back. And he did that on both sides of the ball. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to have anybody do that, but the question is, it's hard for us to sit here and say before week 1 who that person's going to be. But you have that large amount of people. I'm excited to see who's going to step up and take that role.
And there's a couple in there that I think I'm really excited to see get kind of an expanded role, or maybe this is the first time we've seen him in a while. Like Ethan May, that kid's a super athletic kid that hadn't been able to play football for the last couple of years because of injuries, and I'm looking forward to seeing him out there. Seth Knapp, again, a kid that I think has got a lot of top end speed that I'm really excited to see with the ball out on the edge to see what he can do. I mean, there's some kids out there, and again, I've always been a Brendan Rawls fan. You know, I think he is special with the ball, and I'm looking forward to watch him in either the fullback or halfback position, wherever he might be. So moving into the offensive line. So, you know, first place I want to talk about is tackle. So tackle is one of those positions that, you know, it's where the big uglies are at, right? That's where you control the outer edge. That's what protects your quarterback.
Right.
And you know, there's a bunch of different kids. I think you'll see some snaps there. I know there's still a lot of movement on the line, so we're recording this after the first scrimmage, before the second scrimmage, and I can promise you there will be some changes between the first and the second, and also after the second scrimmage before the first game. So
no doubt. This
is kind of what we see right now. So, you know, I think you'll see a lot of Jacob McClellan at tackle. He's one that kind of established himself last year. You know, Logan Gibson, Peyton Thomas, Colton Rawls, those are all kids that I can see playing a lot of tackle.
Yeah.
Anything you guys think about that position?
Man, just from a shock standpoint for me, you know, I've been here now almost 20 years, over 20 years that I've been in Davis watching Davis football. I'm used to the little guys on the front line, and now Davis has some size, and not just size, but some size that can move, and so. Yes, I'm all for the running backs we already talked about, but man, right there in those trenches, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And I'm anxious to see those guys. Now, I also think that we may see so much in and out at those positions, you know, the tackle being one of them, that there may be as many swap outs in that one as the halfbacks. So, again, between scrimmage 1 and scrimmage 2, people are going to change, and it's going to continue to change as we need.
My only concern with the tackle position is we saw a lot of snaps with Rawls. We saw a lot of snaps with McClellan. The other is some unproven talent. So it's one of those things that I want to see more snaps by Peyton. I want to see some more snaps by Logan because I think they can do it. It's just
they got to get that experience.
They got to get some snaps. And I'm sure there will be other kids because, again, 4 kids in my opinion at tackle is not enough. So, you know, I'm sure when we talk about this interior group, some of those will also be playing some snaps at tackle as well. And when I'm talking about interior, I'm talking about our guards and centers, basically, because a lot of those are interchangeable positions. So let's talk about the guards and centers.
Going from center, I would expect to see Luke Johnson played there some last year. I would expect to see that again. Luke's a tough kid. You know, I mean, he'll fight in the middle of them. And so that's who I think will be there.
Sure.
But you never know. Somebody may come out of the woodwork and take that spot.
So first scrimmage, the first guy out at center, and I think he will still be one of the first guys out on the offensive line, but I don't know if it'll be at center, was actually Fisher Smith.
Okay.
So again, you're going to see a lot of. I tend to agree. I think Luke will be the guy that gets that center spot, but I don't know that that's determined.
Yeah.
But your interior guys, which there's a lot of them, they're kind of interchangeable. Yep. You can move them once they learn the technique of snapping. From guard to center is pretty interchangeable, other than we want some quickness in the guard because we're going to pull them quite a bit.
Exactly.
So, but if you look at some of the kids on the interior of the line, some of the ones that I expect you to see are, we talked about Fisher, we talked about Luke, Mason Tomlinson, a senior. He's kind of been a rock up front for a while. He is definitely going to be in there. Colton Rawls, if he's not at tackle, will probably be at one of those guard positions.
I could see that for the pulling.
Yeah, for the pulling, absolutely. Big strength and fast, and so
yeah.
You know, outside of them, a couple other kids that I do think that you'll see do some meaningful snaps in there. Ty Hillis is another kid that I think you'll see with some snaps in there. Brendan Pierce, Jet Jennings, these are kids that are going to come in and play some snaps next year. So, again, I think you'll see all of them at some point this season. Tight end. So, tight end I know is probably probably Chad's favorite position,
It
right?
is, yeah.
So we've got a couple kids that we'll see here. We will see a lot of 2 tight end formations this year, so you're going to see both of these guys on the field at the same time occasionally. But the 2 guys I think you're going to see is obviously you've got what your returning starter, which is Polecat Spencer Clinton, and the other one would be the one and only Wyatt Fielding, Chad's son. So I think both of those kids you're going to see play a lot of downs. The other thing I think you're going to see is you're going to see them split out some. I know that we're going to talk about kind of what we expect from a formation standpoint later on, but I think you're going to see those guys not only in a traditional inline tight end position, but I think you're going to also see that where it's motioned out, where they actually go into a third slot or a receiver type look.
Yeah. I think we've got some good size at tight end, anchoring the end of the line out there.
I like what we look at because those are the guys that like to block. Those are my guys. So, you know, the guys that aren't afraid to hit.
Spencer gets off the ball quick, and he can get to a block quick. He does a great job of that, and he's got a good set of hands. So I'm looking forward to a lot of those passes going to the tight end position.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that will happen.
Yeah.
I think, you know, talking about Spencer, you know, when you go from sophomore year to his, you know, where he is now as a senior, his athletic ability is just, I mean, tenfold. You know, so I'm really excited to see what he can do this senior year. And Wyatt coming off, you know, Davis hasn't had many tight ends like that. So, and both got good sets of hands. So.
Big kids. You know, Spencer's about 6'2", probably about 215, I would guess. Wyatt about 6'4", probably
6'4",
210. So again, these are good looking kids. They got good size. They can block the edge. They can go up for that jump pass if you want to do a little Travis Kelce there. Motion them out of the backfield into the quarter of the end zone. I'm looking forward to watching it at least one time this season.
Yep.
So last position we want to talk about on offense is wide receiver. I'll be honest with you. My opinion, wide receiver is the deepest position and the best position we have this year.
You know, it's so weird to say that, just because this is Davis. It's hard to believe that, but I think you're right. You know, you do have some speed with Dakota Carter and Trey Melton.
Trey Melton is deceptively fast.
Yes, I remember a pass.
Trey surprised me all last year. He was an excellent player. Not that I didn't expect that. It just I didn't expect it for him to be that explosive that quickly.
Yeah, he caught a pass across the middle, and I think we were all just dumbfounded when he took off. You know, up the sidelines and just left a kid in the dust, and none of us really saw that coming.
And Dakota and Trey are too, but what really I think makes the position stand out is there's a lot of depth there. There are a lot of kids that I would be comfortable putting in a game that could go win the game for you.
Yeah,
you know, you're talking about you talked about Dakota and you talked about Trey, but you also have Dalton Heffley. You've got Braxton Griffin. You got Gabe Gaddis, who's a senior that's going to play some back there. You got lots of kids that are going to put in some snaps this season for us.
I think so. And going from the speed to the size of Dalton and Braxton, you know, and their ability to go up and get a ball, you know, it really.
These aren't little receivers.
No, they're not.
We're talking 6 foot plus.
It wasn't that long ago that, you know, I say it not, I'm a little old, but where wide receivers still had their hand in the dirt here at Davis.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about we got guys that can get up and down the field and go get a ball. So it's a complete different atmosphere.
Any chance we see a twin set?
Man, I don't know.
So I bet I could answer that question for you. Well, we might get into it. We might get into it here in a minute.
We'll get there. But, I'm excited for it. I think the wide receiver position is really going to like I said when we started this conversation off about the quarterbacks, we have options.
Yeah.
We have options, and that's, I'm stoked for the year. So.
Okay, so let's talk about what we expect from the offense this year. So I can tell you what I expect. You guys tell me what you expect. Some of mine is a little bit biased in that I probably have had some conversations with some people. You know,
insider knowledge.
Little insider info.
Okay.
And you guys both have kids on the team, so you probably have a little bit as well.
There's lots of conversations. Yeah. So.
You know, but I think from an offensive concept, what I really expect this year is number one is we are going to be very heavy on pre-snap movement. There is going to be a lot of pre-snap movement, whether it's at the receiver position, if it's at the tight end position, or at the backs position. Yeah. So we're going to motion out of different formations, motion into different formations, lots and lots of preset movement to make the defense adjust to what they're seeing. Yeah. You're going to see most of that is going to come out of a base offense where we're still lined up in either the pistol or a flex bone look, but there's going to be tons and tons of two receiver sets. There are going to be lots of play action type where the two receiver set goes into motion into a traditional wishbone look. There's going to be lots of motion to keep the defense off guard. The other thing that I think you're going to see is you're going to see a little bit more pro alignment. There's always going to be two backs in the backfield. So you will always have a fullback or a halfback. I mean, we're not going to go to a one-back look. No. There will always be a two-back look where, it may be two people that you wouldn't traditionally see in the backfield. It may be more of a traditional fullback and a halfback where we're going to go, you're going to do a straight lead out of that. But you're going to see a lot of – we're not going away from running ball. Let's be honest. That's not going to happen. Right. But what I do expect you to see is I expect you to see up to 15, maybe even 20 passes a game, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah. Wow. That's a big number.
That's not coming from me.
Okay.
That's what we would like to see. So, again, we've got to execute to make sure that happens. We have to have ball security. We have to do all of the things that are still required when you throw the ball. If we don't, we'll be a ground-heavy team as well.
Yeah.
Ground game is not going away. Ground game is how we'll control the clock. It's how we'll keep defenses honest, and it's how we'll drive the ball down the field. But we can be deadly with our passing game. Yeah. We've got a good throwing quarterback. We've got a good group of receivers that can go get the ball. We've got some opportunity to do some special things offensively.
Yeah. Here's my thing is, I went to watch some of the 7-on-7 stuff that was done this summer, and a lot of the questions were like, why are we doing this? Because this is the bone. Right. That's what we live and die by here. And I think people struggle with like the 7-on-7 stuff is really just practice for the quarterback in the hands. You're still going to see the same formations starting out. When we come out of the huddle, you're still going to see the same formations that you've seen for 30 years. But like you said, the motions, the pre-snap movements, now we're making defenses, really kind of focus on what's going on pre-snap and kind of lose sight of what's actually going on post-snap. So I think that's, again, going back to options, that's a huge thing for us because now put 11 people in the box and see what happens.
Well, you're going to see a lot of movement. You're going to see a lot of what looks like their traditional flex bone. Where we motion into doubles or triples, and then we're going to throw out of that double and triple formation is what you're going to see a lot of those types of looks.
I'm excited for it.
Well, I got to say, 15 to 20. Wow, I would be ecstatic about that.
So if I was an honest guy, I would say my guess would be in that 15 range, less than the 20 range. Yeah. But I think it'd be interesting, even if we get in the 10 to 15 range.
Absolutely.
There's been seasons we haven't thrown it 15 times all season.
But people see that number, and we might have to go call some ERs for some people because they may have a stroke after that one. But.
Well, like you said, we've got options, and that's what the wishbone is all about is options.
Yep.
But now we have options on top of options,
sure,
which is always nice. But I don't know if y'all remember the Pauls Valley game from last year. That was a ground and pound physical game. We're still going to get into a couple of those games this year.
We're still going to have to be able to do that, and I think we can when we need to.
Yeah. And so Davis is going to stay true to that when they need to, but the ability to drop back, throw the ball, we've got it now.
The other side that's important on this is for us to be able to throw the ball 15 times a game, we've got to protect the quarterback too. Yep. So, that's something that offensive line-wise we haven't done a lot of previously. So those guys out on the edge suddenly become a whole lot more important because quarterback's got to have time to throw the ball. Receivers got to have time to execute their route, all of those pieces.
Yeah.
So let's switch over to defense. Let's talk about the defense a little bit. So we talked about the offense. So we're going to talk about a lot of the same kids because, a lot of the kids are going to be playing both ways. Right. So first thing let's talk about what we expect kind of in that interior of the defensive line, nose guard, tackles. A lot of those kids are interchangeable. Again, I expect to see, some of the kids I kind of expect out there are going to be, Mitchell Garrison, Mason Tomlinson, Colton Rawls. We've mentioned those. Jacob McClellan, Peyton Thomas. Another new kid that they're saying is going to get some snaps out there is a gentleman named Rylan Gomez. Okay. Again, there's several out there that I think you're going to see. What do you think about the interior of the defensive line?
Again, going back to what I started on the offensive side, we got size,
Yeah.
and size that can move. And what I want to see, we talking about. I know week 1 we got Pauls Valley, but week 2 they mentioned on K10. They do have a D1 commit running back now. We're gonna have to keep him contained, not let him get out in the open. Sulphur did the same thing. I want to see those guys in the front really kind of force their way through that line, get more pressure in the backfield on the defensive side. So I hope we can see that, and I think we will.
I think we'll probably see Spencer in there some at tackle
I
as
think
well.
you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're probably
Might
right.
even throw Wyatt in there from time to time just to get those guys a break from going both ways.
I think again, going back to options, but now we got options on the defensive side. We got so many interchangeable kids that are all athletic and all physically strong and can get in there and handle their own. And, getting Colton Rawls played a lot last year. Getting him a few extra plays off for a breather for a second is just going to make him better. And so having those interchangeable kids is a huge thing.
But Colton Horton at nose guard.
Yeah.
Get Mitchell out of there, get him a break, and get Colton in there. I mean, he played 2 or 3 games last year while Mitchell was hurt, and he came in and did a good job.
Yep.
One of the things we didn't communicate too, and we should probably be very clear on, is this is just our opinion of what we expect.
Exactly.
This is and we're probably missing half the kids that are going to play downs.
Yeah.
This is just our opinion of what we kind of expect.
We're not
so
purposely forgetting anybody.
if we forget anybody, it is not on purpose. I assure you.
We're
so
all older, and our memories are getting worse. So.
I'm the oldest. So.
there you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the newcomer. So look at that. Look at how do you like?
I
those
get the
apples?
most excuses. Thank you.
So let's talk about the outside linebackers. So we talked about the interior. So outside linebacker, kind of that defensive end look. The 2 kids I really think you're going to see quite a bit there. Not the 2 kids, several of the kids I think are going to be there are the Tyson Moss, Ty Barnett, D. Eidelman. I see all of those kids playing meaningful snaps at outside linebacker.
Yeah.
And all 3 of them have played some snaps. I know we gave D a hard time when he was 0 minute.
You can't call him that.
You can't call him that because towards the end of the season he ended up playing quite a bit.
Quite a bit towards the end of the year, and I think that'll only grow from here.
Well, and they've got the speed. In that position, you need to be able to get out there and contain.
Yeah.
And they've got the speed to do that.
So, Tyson is one that's really surprised me. He did so good I remember him so much on offense last year that I kind of forgot about him defensively.
Yeah.
That first scrimmage, he really stood out.
Yeah.
So, again, at that outside linebacker position. So I'm excited to see what he does with a full season behind him. Not that he didn't play it last year. It didn't stand out like he did this year.
He outshined himself on the offensive side.
He did, without a doubt.
You can't blame him for that. But,
Ty Barnett, another one that I think is a kid with a lot of upside that I'm really looking forward to having a great senior year. He's coming into his year where he wants to, a couple years ago he got hurt, and I remember we kind of fell off a little bit at the position after he got hurt. Last year he really kind of shined, so I'm looking forward to watching him again.
Yeah, that's I dubbed him Hypezilla a couple years ago just because there's nobody on the field more into his own energy than that kid.
Yeah.
Any good play, that's the first kid to come give you a high five and a chest bump and pick you up. And when you make a mistake, he's the first one there to help you up and move on. So
right.
I'm ready to see those big jump chest bumps up in there from Ty again this year.
So then we move inside. So you got that 5-2 look. 5-2, Okie 5-2, or 4-3, depending on how you want to call it.
Depending on who you're talking to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So or 3-4. I mean, you can name whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But 5-2 is really what the formation predominantly is. You got your 2 interior linebackers also. So your 2 interior linebackers. A couple of kids that I really see having kind of an impact there and really playing meaningful minutes. You got to start with Brendan Rawls and probably Rance Digby's, who I think those 2 positions probably are going to be your starters there. Both those kids are both high-end kids. They're good kids. They're physical. I can't wait to watch both of them really be able to shine back there. Because, again, they played meaningful minutes last year, but now they're the guy. It's different when you become the guy.
Well,
you can't rely on Lane now, or you can't rely on because now you are the guy people are relying on.
Again, back to that, who's going to fill those shoes? Lane was kind of the field general out there on the defensive side. Who's going to step up and do that? I think either one of those guys could. And Rance did some of it last year. And so I think they've done enough of it. He's done enough of it that they are going to be able to fill those shoes. and so I think we're going to be okay there.
Two other kids that I think could also be the starters. And again, we don't know who the starters are going to be.
Right.
This is just kind of our guess.
Right.
The other two kids that I think you're going to see play meaningful minutes there is one that we haven't seen, which is Ethan May previously. Yep. Ethan comes with a ton of physicality, comes with a ton of speed. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to play meaningful minutes at interior linebacker. And then the other is Luke Johnson. Luke Johnson, again, is a kid that's not afraid to hit you. He's not afraid to put his nose on the ball. Both of those kids are two others that are going to play meaningful minutes and may start at the position.
And he saw some minutes last year, if I'm remembering correctly, at linebacker, interior linebacker, and did a good job.
So, I think, getting Ethan back is going to be a big one. Luke moving up to the quarterback played, defensive back last year, and so I think you're going to see Ethan kind of step into some of those shoes too.
So let's talk about defensive back. You brought it up, so we'll go down there. Now, defensive back, a lot of these kids are interchangeable. We're playing a lot of kids both at safety and or corner, so a lot of them are kind of interchangeable of who is where currently.
Yep.
Some of the kids that I think you're going to see back at either safety or corner, because again, they're probably going to be some of them that play either or, depending on. I know we're a little beat up right now at one of the positions, so we're kind of transferring some of those kids around, kind of to offset that a little bit. But a lot of the kids you're going to see back there, you're going to have, Dalton Heffley, you're going to have Luke Linville, you're going to have Gage Copenberg. I almost called him Gabe Copenberg. I think. Sorry about that. Yeah. You're going to have Trey Melton at one of the corners for part of it. You're going to have Seth Knapp back there. You're going to have Braxton Griffin back there. All of those kids are going to be interchangeable at all of those defensive back positions.
And all the names you named right there, if I'm an opposing, player or coach, like there's nobody that I can look at and go, that's where I'm going with the ball.
Yeah.
Because they're all going to be good. So there's not really a weak spot to pick out right there to say this is where I'm going to go with the ball.
There have been times, at either corner or safety where we've kind of played some undersized guys. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, if you guys remember, and I didn't mention Dakota. Dakota is also definitely in that because he will be one of the starters at the position. Yeah. But there were times last year where we had like Wynnewood when they ran that jump ball on us a bunch of times, and again, it's one of those things that we've got a little more size to throw out there this year. I mean, you've got some 6'1" kids and bigger, out on the perimeter there that can actually man up with a taller receiver and go man to man because they've got good speed.
Right.
So, again, I kind of expect to see all of those guys back there at corner. So let's talk about the defense. What do you guys expect from our defense this year?
I don't think there's going to be a massive change in what we see defensively. We're still going to be smash mouth. We're going to make you work to earn anything. I do think we're going to see, the DBs, I think, are going to be a lot better just because we have so many that can play that spot. And it's going to be tougher for teams to put the ball in the air against us. So adding, getting Braxton back, getting Ethan back. That's just two more guys that can get out there and play. And some of these young guys, Gage coming in, now he's a sophomore.
Sophomore, yep.
And so these guys are going to get on the field more, and they're only going to get better. And I really think that teams are really going to struggle to try to beat us down the field anymore. And man, you're going to have to beat us on the ground or on the edge, and you're going to be hard pressed to find a spot to get around.
Yeah, and I think we can contain the edge better than what we have.
Yeah.
We struggled in years past with teams that had fast halfbacks, running backs.
Yep.
If they could get outside, they could go. But I think we can contain that. I don't know if we'll see it, but I would like to see us bring pressure a little more often.
Yeah.
Hey, you're talking my language. So here's what I anticipate this year. I'll visit with you guys about it. So conceptually, we're going to come out in the same formations we've came out in.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any change there. But where you're going to see a little bit different than traditionally is we're really, really quick on defense.
Yep.
We've got a lot of guys with a lot of speed out on the edges, at safeties, even at the linebacker positions. We got lots and lots of speed, and I think we're going to utilize that by being a little bit more aggressive in our attacking defense. We've been a little more. We've caught blocks a little bit more on the back end. where we really haven't attacked defensively,
Right.
and we've just kind of tried to keep everything in front of us. I think that changes a little bit this year. I think we try and bring a lot of pressure off the edge. I think we try and bring a lot of pressure up the middle. You talk about we talked about Ethan earlier. We talked about Brendan. All those kids run really well. They can all blitz pretty well. So I think you're going to see more of an attacking defensive style this year.
That's good. That's my kind of football right there.
Yeah.
So
Again, you're going to see it predominantly out of that Okie 5-2 look, but I think you're going to see a lot more of it.
Maybe a Bears 4-6.
There you go. Hey, I like it. There you go. It's been a while, right?
I like it.
So last one we should really talk about is the special teams. So
Okay.
special teams get overlooked. They win or lose your game a lot of the time. So, kicker, I'm assuming we're coming back to our kicker from last year,
I
Mr.
think
Pullen.
so. Mr. Pullen. Yeah.
Again, I expect him to be our kicker again this year. Got another year on his belt now. I think he's ready for the.
I'll say this. So I know a lot of the kids. They razz Pullen quite a bit. But walking onto the field last year, I'm about 90% sure that he hadn't played football before. So he jumped in there and he
He had
did
ice
well.
water in his veins, man. Yeah, he did
well.
great.
And so summer full of practice. Getting that full year in now.
Yep.
It's uphill from here. So
Boosts that confidence for sure.
yeah, I'm. Again, you just add another option. Now all of a sudden, we don't have to score on the ground or in the air on a 2-point conversion or anything like that. We can kick a field goal. So I'm excited for it. And the kickoffs, it was always kind of that directional kick.
Sure.
I think.
You think he'll be the guy that does it? We've had a couple different guys.
Yeah, we've had a
doing
couple,
that.
but I don't know. Lane did it a little bit
Yeah,
last
he did.
year. So we'll see if that's still kind of the standard kickoff for Davis. I'd like to see us, kick a little deeper, just because, I'm all about pinning people deep and making them earn those yardage.
Hey,
So,
with the speed that we've got, we could kick it deep and maybe pin them deep. So but I think we'll still see the direction.
I do.
I'm a fan of the directional
Oh,
personally.
okay, yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of being quiet on this.
Yeah.
I kind of like pinning them in a position, not giving them a good opportunity to return.
Well, the good thing about the directional kick sometimes is we did it, and now we have that speed that we may beat you to some balls on the directional kick. So
that's true.
Almost just like a deep
Well,
onside. So
I don't know if you guys remember. It was probably more with junior high than anything else. But do you remember when we used to kick kind of a deep onsides, and we would have Brendan go get the recover?
yeah,
I mean, he did it
absolutely.
again and again and again.
yeah,
So I would not be surprised to see something like that happen. I mean, again, I don't think that's going to be our go-to by any means, but I wouldn't be surprised to see
again,
it.
it's
Well,
another-
if you got a team that's got a good guy back there that's got some speed and elusiveness, do the directional kick. Take the ball out of his hands. Take that off the table.
Yeah.
And the ability to do both would be awesome.
So the other thing is obviously kick return, punt return. I think there's a couple guys that you're going to see back there predominantly. Dakota Carter.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a lot of snaps back there. Ethan May. He's going to have a lot of snaps back there. There's several kids. I haven't heard this name, but if I would not be surprised to see Luke back there also. Now I'm not a big fan of putting my quarterback back because I don't want my quarterback to get hurt.
Right.
But you look at all of those kids, Seth Knapp, you look at, there's a bunch of kids that can run with the ball in their hands. They're probably there's going to be different people back there, both at either punt return or kick return.
Trey Melton, put him back
Trey
there.
Melton is
Yeah,
another
I
great
think that's
one.
another
Great
good one.
idea. Yep.
Again, interchangeable players.
Yeah.
Be able to get different kids out there in different looks. I think it's awesome.
So before we go into what our expectations for the season are,
Okay.
we've got to take just a second, and we've got to thank our group that sponsored this evening, right?
Got our A&W,
So
right?
A&W, they brought us food, they sponsored our show.
Yep.
If you're not going by A&W either before the game or after the game, you need to be.
And I did talk to them just the other day. They are going to be staying open late after the ball games. Is their plan? I will, let you guys know on game night whether that's the case. So after the ball game's over, go get you some food.
Even our visitors, coming
Yeah,
straight
yeah.
down I-35, it's right off the interstate, right on their way into Davis. Stop in, grab something either
Get
on
you
the
a
way
root
in
beer
or
and
way
some
out.
cheese curds.
Hey, I had that earlier, I
Yeah,
think, didn't I?
yeah.
So
They're pretty good.
I mean, everything they have is good. It's one of my
Absolutely.
favorite places to go. And
We just want to say thank you to them for
without a
taking
doubt.
care of the crew tonight as we
Yeah, because you guys can't see this. There's the three of us up here, but there's about 7 of them back there that are laughing every time we call their name. So so there's a whole nother group of people that are putting this show on, other than just us 3 talking heads in front of the camera currently.
Yeah, I'd like to say they're working hard, but we all know better than that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So okay, let's get down to the important part here. We're going to talk about expectations on the season. So I told Chad earlier, Bobby, that I would make a prediction on what I'm expecting this season to look like. So I'll go first, just so you guys don't have to take this bullet.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be a great season. I think it's a season that we have a very good possibility of winning district again.
Okay.
And going several rounds into the playoffs itself.
Okay.
If I had to guess right now, my prediction would be that we'll go 11-2 this year.
Okay. So we are going to put a number to it. All right. I didn't know if we were going to go that far, but
That's me. I'm gonna do it.
11-2.
Man.
Wow.
That would be
So
third round of the playoffs.
Third round of the playoffs. You know, I hate to
We'll
be.
let him go first.
I say I hate to be that guy, but I was actually that was where I was going to go too. I know that's kind of the cheap answer,
head
but
zone right there.
you know, I think out of the gate, and we can go. You know,
I don't know if you want to go into individuals or not, but I know
don't,
where.
But our first couple are not. I mean, our boys are going to have to get out there and earn it.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think that's a secret. But district, I don't see anybody. We will have some, tougher games in the district, but I don't foresee anybody getting in front of us and being able to take that district champ spot away from us. And then we get back into that playoff game. First round's probably going to be, a tougher opponent being from that other tough district. But I think Frederick, got by us last year, but I don't think it happens again. So I'm with you. I think third round of the playoffs is probably a pretty good target. Definitely think it's possible for us to get beyond that. But I think that's a pretty good expectation to set this year.
And I think that's a super successful season.
Yeah.
I who was at K-12 that said it's been 5 years since Davis has got out of the first round of the playoffs.
It was actually K-10, but
K-10, yeah.
They said it's that they hadn't won in 5 years, but
Well, I don't disagree, but I think the first 4 games are our toughest games.
So let's talk about that. I appreciate. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So our schedule as a whole, it's something I know Chad and I talked about it just briefly, Bobby.
Right.
But our schedule, in my opinion, it's really front loaded.
Oh, yeah,
that's
I
not
agree.
taking anything away from the teams that we're going to play
no.
later. But there's several teams that are either rivalry games or higher division teams
yeah.
with larger enrollments. I mean, there's several, and then there's 4 or 5. Like our first 4 or 5 games, we've got they stack up back to back to back. Either it's a rivalry game or a rivalry game followed by another rivalry game, plus an opening round game against a higher division team. And so they're followed by what was last year one of our best in district teams.
Yeah.
So again, it's a really tough front-loaded schedule.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Chad. I think the first 4 are probably going to be 4 of the tougher ones for us.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think we get out of that at 500.
Do you? The first 4? Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
We take 2, and I want us to take all 4.
Sure.
But we're asking for predictions, so
Yep.
I'm going out
I
on
got
a
you.
limb.
Hey, I like it.
And then we end at 10-3.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a great
That
year.
puts us in the third round because I think we get past that first round. We make it to the third round with the possibility of getting to the fourth.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we've all kind of got similar expectations. The first 4 games, I do think they're going to be tough. I actually think we go 3-1 in the first 4, but
I tend to
we'll
agree
see.
with you on that. Maybe, but I don't know that. I mean, and the other thing we didn't talk about, guys, on this is obviously this is assuming there are no injuries.
Right.
Yeah.
Because any injuries at key positions can really derail a season really quickly.
Yeah.
So this is making the assumption that, and we know there's going to be injuries because there always are.
gonna happen.
Football is a violent game that sometimes results in people getting hurt. So you got to kind of expect that. but again, I think if we can stay healthy, that's going to be the key on this.
Yep.
So we talked about the schedule. Any games that you guys are really looking forward to?
Well, game one is homecoming,
Yeah.
Which has caught a little bit people off surprise that we're having homecoming that early.
Yeah.
But you don't. I know it's hard for some people, but you get into those district games, you really don't want a lot of distractions and things like that. And so it is what it is, and we're starting off with homecoming in Pauls Valley, but then you got two rivals right back after that. So, man, it's hard for me to pick one over the other, but I love rivalry games.
Yeah.
I love rivalry games. So,
Sulphur. I'm looking forward to Sulphur because I want us to beat them.
yeah, that
And
the
they're at
Bedlam
home
game
this
down
year.
the road is obviously on
Yeah.
everybody's mind.
It's been a while, right? It's been a while. I like to tend to think about that 9 or 10 game winning streak we had, and not the current losing streak
Right.
we've got to them. But I think our kids remember last year, and I know that the reason behind why, remember there was the picture in front of the scoreboard, and I know it was in honor of Coach Dixon. I really like that, but I think it kind of affected our kids because they thought maybe it was a celebration instead of what it actually was. So
Right.
so I mean, they remember that last year. So I think they're going to be hungry for that game.
Yeah.
I think that one's always the game that everybody earmarks
Yeah.
on their calendar right off the bat. So a lot of emotions going to that one, but they're playing at our house this time.
Any in district games you guys are really looking forward to?
Holdenville.
Holdenville would be a
was a
good
good
one.
game last
Boy,
year.
it was a great game.
I think they showed a lot of speed and talent that I don't think anybody really saw coming.
Yeah.
Probably Atoka. Man, they got that nice turf field and everything. It's all, when we get to go sit in a nice press box, it's, pretty rare occasion sometimes. So I'm excited.
Or we're not
for
in
that.
the stands.
Yeah, and so
Wait a minute. I didn't hear that.
He
I
did.
was gonna be sitting
Chad,
in the stands.
Chad had never got to go to one of the games where we
Yeah.
were in the stands before.
we've
What?
been on top of roofs and all
Okay,
kinds
this
As
is
a
of
matter,
good.
as a matter
It's
of
gonna be
fact,
interesting.
matter of fact, Sulphur usually we're in the stands.
we have been, yeah.
Yep.
So
Okay.
We've also been in the press box. Depends on kind of what it
We've
is.
been in both there.
Yep.
But
It's good to know. Good information.
So what do you guys think? This will be the last thing we kind of talk about this night, and then we'll kind of turn it over. But what do you think are our challenges this year?
The scapegoat answer, I've got to stick with it, is keeping everybody healthy. We're getting a couple of kids back from injuries, and that's always that looming thing that's out there. Like you guys said, it's going to happen. It's a physical game. That's the biggest concern, is because you want everybody healthy moving forward, and that gives us our best opportunities. So I think that one's got to be the earmark for me. So.
I agree. If we can make it through the first 3 games and then go into district play with minimal injuries at vital positions, I think our chances increase tenfold. So that's, yeah.
We've got some positions I think we can absorb injuries in, and we have some that we can't.
Yeah.
So it's some of those crucial spots where we may not have as much depth or just a crucial position as whole because of how much they mean to the team. We got to keep those kids healthy.
Yep.
If we don't keep them healthy, it makes it much more difficult. Because again, I think we are. If you look at us as a team, I think we have more high-end kids. And what I mean by that is maybe a little more talent at some important positions than maybe we've had in some of our recent teams. And again, it's one of those things. I think there are more of those, but we still don't have the depth we need to have yet.
Right.
So again, you're going to see some younger kids that are going to play a little bit more this year. Again, there are at least 1 to 2 freshmen that I do expect to see at least some snaps this year. And again, I didn't mention them, but
I think we plan to see. We talked about it a couple of times. There'll be some of those really young guys, those freshmen that.
There's some sophomores maybe that we haven't seen a lot that are going to be. We got to kind of rely on them more to kind of continue to build that depth and play important minutes for us.
Well, there's a couple of freshmen that got some size too.
Sure.
And so we get into some injury situations, you really may see some of those get pulled into those spots. So.
But I think we've got a really good. I think we've got a really good senior and junior class. I think both of them. There's good senior leadership there. There's good athletes there. There's kids that have played lots of downs in those 2 courses that are going to kind of be leading our team as we go forward.
Yep.
So, and again, This is just these
Strictly
three
opinion.
guys. These three guys' opinion of what to
Right.
expect. But
Absolutely.
we're all looking forward to the season. You know, regardless of how the season goes, we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to you guys joining us this season.
Yeah.
Again, Wolf Media, we are proud to broadcast the games again this year. We're going to be a lot more comfortable when you guys are looking at them and not looking at us.
Absolutely.
100%.
So
Absolutely.
hopefully that's going to happen before too much longer. And
Man, you know, this is going to be played for a few days for the roughly 5 days before the homecoming. So, man, I'm kind of scared of how many people might see it, but
me too.
I am looking forward to all the people that joined us. You know, last year during Frederick, we had 900 people watching us,
Wow.
which was a huge deal for us. So, thank you to all the people out there watching us. And you know, they're not watching it for us, but you know, it's good to have you.
Thanks to school for letting us broadcast. Thanks to the coaches. We don't talk about the coaches enough. The coaches are so instrumental in all that we do, whether it's providing information, providing us tips of kind of what to expect, statistics, you name it. They give us all kinds of different pieces. So our coaching staff, great guys, great human beings, excellent coaches. So again, it's one of those things that we appreciate. And again, you know, when we tell them, hey, they're supposed to go 11-2 this year, it puts a little pressure on them. So no pressure, guys. You know, we're proud of you guys, however this season ends. But
Absolutely.
but again, just want to say thanks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. First time we've ever done
Yeah, it's brand new.
a season kickoff show. Hope we get lots of views on it, and
Maybe the last time, but we'll find
maybe
out.
last time. You guys drop some comments if you like it or what you'd like to see differently, and maybe we'll do it a little bit different next year. Again, Brad Bentley, Bobby Alexander, Chad Fielding. We'll be with you all season. Hope to watch you, and we're not that far off. Paul's Valley is just around the corner.
All right, we'll see y'all Friday night.